One of my patients asked me the other day about how I would apply ruthless compassion to helping her improve the communication in her marriage. And she is somebody who is very conflict averse, and she has had a lot of struggles in her marriage because she will sit on her hurt or angry feelings toward her partner, and then they will build and build and build, and then they'll end up exploding in her yelling at him, which of course has only made him feel quite put upon, and then he talks back to her in quite a hostile and aggressive way. And so they go between periods of getting along okay and then periods of having terrible arguments but never actually addressing the issues. And when I've suggested that she talk to him, she always says, yes, 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 I will, and then she doesn't because she's really quite fearful about what will happen when she brings up her feelings. So how you would bring ruthless compassion into improving your communication would be like this. Ruthless compassion is really a philosophy of love and respect toward yourself and others, and of really wanting the best for yourself and others. So it's a philosophy which is really empowering and supposed to make things better. So what I suggested to my patient was first to really look at her husband as her friend, because I think when a lot of arguments have been happening, they start feeling adversarial and they need to go back to being allies. So the first step in communicating with her husband is to make sure that she doesn't communicate with him when they're having a fight, that she lets the fight dissipate, waits for a while until they're getting along, and then uses the time when they're getting along to bring up the issues that are important. It's really not a good idea to get into important, serious discussions when you're tired, hurt, or angry, because communication really comes from communing, and it's going to be very hard to feel connected and that you're communing if you're having, arguments or if you're very fatigued. So timing is very important, at least as important as the content in communication. As well, the form of the communication is very important. And the compassion part of ruthless compassion says that you need to communicate in a way that really is building a bridge. So what I suggested to her is to start by really focusing on what they both want, which is that they both want to get along. And so I suggested for her to start by saying something like, honey, we're getting along really well right now, and it's been going really, really great for the last little while, and I really want it to continue. But I know that our pattern is that it doesn't continue, is that we get into these arguments, and they're silly arguments, and then I'll raise my voice at you, and you'll raise your voice at me, and then it breaks down, and then we're very unhappy. And I know you want to be happier with me, and I certainly want to be happier with you. So I want to share with you some of the things that you're doing which are hurtful to me, and I want to give you an opportunity to share some of the things that I'm doing that are hurtful to you, and then maybe we can talk about how we can improve things. And I suggested that she also say things like what she likes about her husband and what she appreciates about her husband, because communication, when you're talking about difficult subjects, it can be very easy for the other person to become defensive. So starting by saying, I really want us to get along, and then telling her, how much she appreciates certain things that he does for her, things that he does for the children, just ways that he is as a person, that would help prevent him from being defensive. So that's the compassionate part. The ruthless part is really looking honestly at her partner and at herself, and looking at the behaviors that she doesn't like in him, and that also at the behaviors that she is exhibiting herself, which aren't effective. They aren't effective in communicating, and they aren't effective in building a healthy, happy, loving relationship. She needs to ruthlessly explore and examine what she does that is counterproductive in the relationship and stop doing it. If she's yelling at her husband, if she's berating her husband, if she's swearing at or cursing at him, these are things that need to stop, because they're only going to undermine their intimacy. As well as if he's doing those kinds of things, she really needs to call him on it. And even if she's afraid to call him on it, she needs to bring these things up. Otherwise, she's never going to be happy, and the resentment will just build, and she'll end up blowing again. It's really important in a relationship not to dump your leftover baggage from your bad week or your bad day onto your partner. If we're going to be polite with strangers, why is it okay for us to be rude to our partner? And I think it's really important in a marriage when you're communicating to save your bad mood and not dump it on your partner. If you have a bad mood, talk to somebody else about it. Talk to your therapist, sort it out in your therapy. Go take an exercise class, do a dance class, play badminton or basketball or something. But it's really not acceptable to dump your bad mood out on your partner. And I think when couples get into that habit, it really degrades the relationship very quickly. So ruthlessly looking at her bad behavior and his bad behavior and recognizing that she needs to change hers and calling him on his is going to really help them improve the quality of their relationship. Now, another way to employ ruthlessness is if her husband becomes defensive when she's talking to him, to stop and to comment on his defensiveness, to say, you know, this is not helpful, honey. I'm telling you this in the spirit of trying to build a relationship. I love you. I want us to be close. I want us to be connected. And you're being defensive right now is not helping. And I think you need to just listen and understand that I'm not attacking you, that I'm trying to help build a better relationship. So ruthless compassion is really about loving yourself enough to want a better life for yourself, loving your partner enough to want to communicate in a fair and kind and reasonable way with them, but also being ruthless enough with your own behavior that you don't enable yourself to continue bad habits, and ruthless enough with your partner so that you call them on the behaviors that are not acceptable to you.